She thought she'd just stolen someone's seat for a quiet dinner, but when the city's most feared mafia boss bent down and told her to stay, she had no idea she'd just taken a place at the table that could cost her not only her future, but her heart. Before we dive into this story, make sure to subscribe. Rain hammered against the awnings of the upscale restaurant, turning the sidewalk into a shimmering river of reflections. Mia practically stumbled through the double doors, pushing them open with her shoulder as she tried to shield her backpack from the downpour. Her hair clung to her cheeks, her pulse still racing from sprinting the last 2 blocks after the library had closed early for a private event. Warmth washed over her instantly. Low golden lights, soft jazz humming beneath the murmur of hushed conversations, and the unmistakable scent of money. Aged wine, white truffle, polished leather. She was painfully aware of her soaked jeans, her frizzy hair, and the frayed strap of her backpack hanging by a thread. But exhaustion didn't care about elegance. 3 days of non-stop case briefs and mock trials had Mia functioning on caffeine and stubbornness alone. She just needed somewhere dry to sit for a minute, maybe even grab something small to eat before heading home to her shoebox apartment. A hostess approached with a perfect posture and an even more perfect smile. "Reservation?" Mia shook her head. "No, just 1 minute. I'm catching my breath. Sorry." She didn't wait for permission. Her legs were already moving toward the back corner of the restaurant, where the lighting was dimmer and the tables more secluded. The kind of setup reserved for rich couples, shady negotiations, or people too important to be seated near the general population. But right now, Mia wasn't thinking about any of that. She was thinking about the blister forming on her heel and the fact that her backpack felt like a dying animal on her spine. She spotted an empty corner table, a beautifully set one with a single, deep red rose in a vase, cloth napkins folded into flawless triangles, and a wine glass already waiting. Expensive. Off limits. Clearly reserved. But her tired brain didn't care. She slipped into the chair, exhaling in relief as she dropped her bag beside her feet. Her eyes drifted shut for just a moment, savoring the music, the warmth, and the illusion that she belonged here. A waiter appeared almost instantly, looking panicked. "Miss, are you, should I bring—" "Water," she said, rubbing her forehead. "Please, just water." He hesitated, then hurried off, muttering something under his breath. Mia didn't notice the glances, the way the hostess stiffened, the way 2 suited men at the bar subtly straightened, eyes flicking toward her table. She didn't notice that every single staff member had just realized she'd made a very, very big mistake. The front doors opened again, and a hush rippled through the restaurant like a gust of wind. Mia didn't look up. She was too busy wringing water from her sleeve. Footsteps moved across the marble floor, slow, confident, unhurried. The kind of footsteps belonging to someone who never rushed because the world moved for him. They stopped behind her chair. Mia froze, sensing someone's presence a split second before a low voice brushed the shell of her ear, deep, smooth, and dangerously calm. "You're in my seat." Her breath caught. She turned slowly. The man standing behind her looked like he'd been carved from shadows and expensive suits. Dark hair slicked back with effortless precision. Sharp jaw. Eyes so intense they made her forget her own name. He wasn't handsome in the traditional sense. He was striking, unsettling, magnetic. Heat crawled up her neck. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I'll move." She grabbed her backpack. Already half standing, but his hand came down lightly on the back of her chair, not touching her, just blocking her. "Stay." One word. Soft. Commanding. Absolutely not a suggestion. Her heart thudded in her chest. Around them, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. The waiters didn't move. The hostess looked like she might faint. The suited men at the bar subtly shifted closer, as if waiting for orders. Mia swallowed. I really didn't mean to sit here. I didn't know." He pulled out the chair across from hers and sat, gaze locked on her as if she were the only person in the room. "You didn't know," he repeated, sounding amused. That's rare.
Rare? She echoed.
His eyes swept over her, wet clothes, trembling hands, tired eyes. And something in his expression softened, just slightly. No one sits at my table by accident. Rain pounded against the windows, drowning out the thundering of her heartbeat. She finally found her voice, barely above a whisper. Who are you? He leaned back, fingers tapping once on the table. Luca Moretti. A pause. And tonight, Mia, you're sitting exactly where I want you. She didn't remember telling him her name, but he knew it. He knew her. And suddenly, she wasn't sure the storm outside was the most dangerous thing she was escaping tonight. Every sound in the restaurant seemed to sharpen the moment Luca Moretti spoke her name. The soft clinking of silverware, the low hum of jazz. The muted conversations, one by one, fell silent as if the entire room were holding its breath. Mia could feel eyes on her from every direction. Not curious glances, fearful ones, warning ones. It was as if the whole restaurant knew something she didn't. A waiter approached with a basket of freshly baked breadsticks, his hands trembling so hard one nearly fell. He set them down between Mia and Luca with a stiff bow. For you, sir, and your guest. Guest. Mia almost laughed at the word. I taught you water, she whispered to the waiter, mortified. He only glanced at her with a look she'd never seen before. Sympathy? Fear? A silent message of please don't make this worse, before practically sprinting away. Luca watched him leave, one brow lifting in mild amusement, before his gaze slid back to her. Relax, Mia. No one bites here. Except me occasionally. Her heart tripped over itself. She wasn't sure if he was joking. She tried to gather her scattered thoughts, pushing her wet hair behind her ear. You said this is your seat, she managed. Your table. I really didn't know. If you have a reservation or someone's coming or... They're not coming, he cut in smoothly. Not anymore. The way he said it sent a chill through her. Final. Unbothered. As if missing a meeting didn't inconvenience him. It inconvenienced the universe. He reached into the breadstick basket, breaking one in half before offering it to her across the table. Mia blinked. You want me to eat? His lips curved, not quite a smile, but something dangerously close. I want you to stay. The air between them felt charged, like the crackle before lightning hits the ground. Mia tentatively took the breadstick, her fingertips brushing his. A spark shot up her arm, startling her into almost dropping it. She cleared her throat. Okay, so, Luca Moretti. She tried to sound casual, but her voice was breathless. Should I know who you are? His gaze flicked up, amused and maybe a little surprised. You really don't? Should I? Across the restaurant, two men at the bar exchanged glances. One gesturing subtly toward Luca, the other shaking his head with a don't be stupid look. The hostess stood ramrod straight, whispering frantically to a server. At least 3 people were very pointedly not looking at him. Luca leaned back in his chair, studying her as though she were the strangest thing he'd seen in a long time. I'm not used to being anonymous. I'm a law student drowning in debt, she blurted. I don't get out much. He chuckled, quiet, low, warm. It hit her like a physical touch. Mia, he said softly. I run this city. She stared. Like, run it? Or run it? His eyes glinted. The second one. Her stomach dropped. He didn't elaborate. He didn't need to. The way everyone in the restaurant stiffened at his presence. The way the waiters practically bowed. The way the bartender pretended not to breathe. This man was dangerous. Not metaphorically. Literally. She swallowed hard. So, like, Mafia? The corner of his mouth twitched. I prefer family business. But yes. If the word helps you understand why they're all terrified of me, then yes. Mia's pulse roared in her ears. And you want me to stay. At your table. With me, he corrected gently, his gaze locked on hers. I told my men to cancel my meeting the moment you sat down. Her mouth fell open. Why? Because, he murmured, leaning forward, a wet, exhausted law student dared to sit at my table without knowing whose table it was. And instead of apologizing like everyone else does, she asked for water and closed her eyes like she owned the place. Heat rose to her cheeks. I was tired, and I was intrigued. He said it so simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Around them, waiters hovered at a distance, trying to appear calm, but unable to hide their terror. A couple near the entrance hurriedly paid their bill and rushed out. Mia leaned back, her breath unsteady. This feels like a mistake, she whispered. He tilted his head. Do you want to leave? She opened her mouth, closed it, because the answer should have been yes. Absolutely. Run away now. Run far. But the truth? She didn't move. Not an inch. Something about Luca Moretti, his quiet power, his unsettling intensity, the strange sense of safety and danger wrapped around him, held her in place like a gravity she didn't understand. Luca's fingers brushed the rim of his glass as he watched every emotion flicker across her face. There it is, he murmured. There's the moment you realize you should be afraid of me, but you're not. Her breath hitched. And that, Luca said, leaning in, is why I canceled my meeting. Mia swallowed hard, because she finally understood. He wasn't supposed to be interested in her. He was supposed to be negotiating a deal he'd abandoned for her. And the strangest part? She wasn't sure whether to run or stay. Mia had no idea how long she'd been sitting across from Luca Moretti. 5 minutes, 10, maybe 30. Time bent strangely around him, stretched by the slow drag of his stare, and tightened by the sharp awareness she felt in every cell of her body. He was pouring her water when the atmosphere shifted. Subtle at first, just a slight stiffening in Luca's posture, a flick of his eyes toward the entrance, the way 2 men at the bar straightened as if pulled by invisible strings. Mia didn't notice any of it. Not until Luca's hand stilled on the glass. Not until his voice dropped to a tone quiet enough to chill her spine. Don't react. Her pulse thudded in her ears. React to what? She whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, Luca glanced over her shoulder, his expression smoothing into a calm so unnatural it felt like a mask being lowered. He set the water down with meticulous care, every movement deliberate, controlled, and terrifying. Mia swallowed, heat prickling along her neck. What's going on? He lifted his eyes to hers. Something raw and dangerous flickered there. You're about to find out. The front door chimed, another group entering. But this time no one greeted them. No hostess stepped forward. No waiters approached. Silence slithered through the restaurant like a warning. Even the music felt quieter, retreating into the shadows. Luca's voice barely brushed the air. Stay seated, her breath caught. Luca! A single, sharp sound cracked through the night outside. P.O.P., then another. Pop, pop! Gunshots, real ones. Close, too close! The restaurant erupted into chaos. Patrons screamed, dishes shattered, waiters ducked behind counters. Mia froze, her blood turning to ice. She couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't even think, until Luca launched himself out of his chair with a speed that didn't seem human. He grabbed her wrist, cold, firm, unyielding. Move. Mia stumbled to her feet just as another gunshot exploded somewhere outside the front windows. The sound rattled the glass, sending a spiderweb crack across one pane. Luca yanked her toward him, shielding her body with his. Keep your head down. I don't understand. You don't have to. His voice was a growl now, sharp enough to cut. Just move when I tell you to. More gunshots. Someone outside screamed. Mia's legs finally obeyed, adrenaline tearing through her paralysis. She clutched Luca's forearm as he guided, dragged her across the floor. They passed abandoned tables, toppled wine glasses, half-eaten dinners left behind by people running for their lives. The once elegant restaurant had turned into a war zone in seconds. Mia's breath came in ragged bursts. Who's shooting? Why? Later. He shoved open a door near the kitchen. It looked like a pantry, but the moment it clicked behind them, Mia realized it was something else entirely. The lights here were dimmer, the walls thicker, the hallway narrower, lined with reinforced steel panels that didn't belong in any normal restaurant. A hidden corridor. Mia's voice trembled. Where are we? A safe passage, Luca muttered, pulling her deeper inside. Built for situations like this. Situations like this. Like gunmen outside. Like ambushes. Like someone trying to kill him. Her stomach twisted violently. Luca, were those gunshots for you? He didn't answer. Which was answer enough. They reached a heavy metal door. Luca tapped a code into a keypad so fast Mia couldn't track the numbers. The door clicked, then slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Inside was another passage, longer, steeper, leading somewhere underground. Mia stumbled when he pulled her forward, panic clawing up her throat. This is insane! I should have never sat down! I didn't know! Luca spun her toward him, gripping her shoulders, forcing her eyes to meet his. You're safe with me. Her voice cracked. Am I? His jaw flexed, something dark and fierce tightening behind his eyes. You are now. Her chest heaved. Tell me the truth. I need to know. He held her gaze for one torturous moment. Then, you sat at my table, he said softly, and someone out there saw an opportunity to send me a message. Her heart stopped. A message? Don't take it personally. His voice was cold now, deadly. This is the price of being near me. A distant explosion rattled the corridor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Mia flinched violently, but Luca stepped even closer, his breath brushing her ear. I won't let anyone touch you. Outside, gunfire echoed again, closer this time. Luca seized her hand, pulling her into the darkness of the secret hallway. And as the heavy door slammed shut behind them, sealing them beneath the restaurant, Mia realized something terrifying. She hadn't stepped into the wrong table. She'd stepped into the middle of a war. One she had absolutely no way out of now that Luca Moretti had decided she was his to protect. The car Luca shoved her into wasn't a car. It was a fortress on wheels. Blacked-out windows, armored doors that sealed with a mechanical hiss, seats firm enough to hide plating beneath the leather. Even the way the vehicle moved, smooth, heavy, impenetrable, told Mia it wasn't meant for comfort. It was meant to survive an attack. She pressed her back into the seat, heart still sprinting from the gunfire they'd just escaped. Rain streaked the windows, blurring the passing streetlights into smears of gold. Luca sat beside her, one arm draped casually across the backrest behind her shoulders, as if they were out for a late-night drive instead of fleeing armed men who wanted him dead. He hadn't spoken since the moment he slammed the door shut. Now, in the dim interior light, she could see the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers tapped once, just once, against his thigh. A tell she wouldn't have noticed an hour ago. Mia swallowed hard. Where are you taking me? He didn't answer right away. His eyes were fixed on the road ahead, dark and thoughtful. Finally, he said, Someplace safe. She tried not to laugh. It came out anyway, a shaky, humorless sound. Safe? Luca, 10 minutes ago someone tried to kill you, and I was sitting right across from you. Nothing about this is safe. A slow exhale left him. Not annoyed, almost regretful. I didn't expect tonight to escalate the way it did. Does it usually escalate? She shot back. Another pause. Sometimes. The car turned sharply, tires gripping the wet pavement. Luca's hand slid across her stomach in a swift motion, not touching anything inappropriate, just steadying her. But the heat of his palm burned through her clothes. She jolted away, breath catching. I think you should take me home, she whispered. No. The answer was immediate, firm, final. Her pulse jumped. No? That's it? No explanation? You can't go home tonight, Mia bristled. Can you please stop talking like a mafia boss in a movie? Because right now I can't tell if you're protecting me or kidnapping you, he offered calmly. She froze. His eyes met hers, unreadable. If I wanted to kidnap you, Mia, you wouldn't be sitting here asking me questions. That's not comforting, she snapped. It wasn't meant to be comforting. The car slowed as they approached a tall steel gate that rose from the ground like part of a prison. 2 men stepped out of a guard booth, men built like reinforced refrigerators, holding rifles angled toward the road until the driver flashed his lights twice. The gate groaned open. Mia's stomach dropped. This is your house? She whispered. Not my main one, Luca said. A safe house. The car rolled inside, stopping beneath an awning. Armed guards stood at every corner. Cameras blinked red from the walls. The building itself was modern, sleek, and terrifyingly silent, like a research facility in a dystopian thriller. Luca stepped out first. When he opened her door, she hesitated. Mia, he said softly, you're shaking. I wonder why, she muttered, his voice lowered. You're not here as a prisoner. Really? Because I count 8 guns and 2 cameras just in the driveway. That's to keep people out, he said. Not you in. She didn't believe him. Not fully. But she stepped out anyway, because staying in the armored car made her feel even more trapped. Inside, the atmosphere was worse. Bulletproof glass, reinforced doors, monitors showing every angle of the building. A security officer nodded to Luca, then looked at Mia like she was a new item on an inventory list. She shivered. Your room is upstairs, Luca said, placing a gentle hand on her back to guide her. You'll stay there tonight. In the morning, I'll explain everything. What if I don't want to stay here? His hand stilled. For the first time, he turned fully to face her. You were nearly killed tonight because you sat at the wrong table, he said quietly. Someone saw you with me. If you walk out that door right now, you won't make it 2 blocks. She stared up at him, breath trembling. You're saying I'm stuck with you. I'm saying you're safer with me than without me. Those sound like the same thing. His gaze softened, just slightly. You have my word, Mia. No harm will come to you here. And what about you? She didn't know why she asked. The question just slipped out. A smirk tugged at one corner of his mouth. I don't need protection. She shook her head. That's not what I meant. His expression changed, slowly, carefully, as though he didn't quite know how to process her concern. Before he could answer, one of the guards approached. Boss, extra patrols are in place. Mia stiffened. Boss. Luca placed a hand on her arm, his touch firm, but not forceful. Come on, he said. Let me show you your room. She followed him up the stairs, her mind screaming, her body trembling, and her heart doing something entirely different. Because the truth was sudden and terrifying. She didn't know if she was more afraid of the men outside, who wanted Luca dead, or the man walking in front of her. The one who wasn't supposed to want her at all, yet looked at her like she'd just become a problem he wasn't willing to lose. Mia didn't sleep. She tried. God, she tried. But the room Luca had shown her to was too quiet, too pristine, too wrong. The sheets were soft, the lighting warm, the furniture expensive in that understated, someone wealthy picked this out in 5 minutes way. But beneath all that was a pressure she couldn't name, like the walls themselves were listening. Around 3 a.m., after tossing and turning until her thoughts felt like frayed wires, she gave up and slipped out into the hallway. The house was dim, the security lights casting a faint golden glow along the floors. She wrapped her arms around herself as she crept down the stairs, unsure why she was drawn to the main room, until she heard the soft clink of a glass. Luca was awake. Seated on the edge of a low sofa, jacket off, sleeves rolled to the elbows. A half-empty tumbler of amber liquor glowed in his hand. His tie lay discarded on the table, and his hair, usually so controlled it felt sculpted, had fallen slightly out of place. He looked human. Dangerously human. His head lifted the moment her foot brushed the bottom step. Can't sleep? His voice was quiet, rough, like the hour had carved off the sharpness. Mia hesitated at the base of the stairs. "No, I keep hearing things." "That would be the patrol outside," he said, swirling the glass lazily. "They rotate every 20 minutes. "Oh, that's comforting." It wasn't. Luca studied her for a long beat, then patted the sofa beside him. "Sit." She stood frozen, because he didn't command it the way he had in the restaurant. This time, it sounded almost like a request. Almost. She crossed the room slowly, cautious but curious, and sat on the opposite end, far enough to keep her heart from sprinting out of her chest, but close enough for the warmth of him to reach her. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the patter of rain against the bulletproof windows. Eventually, she found herself staring at his hands, resting on his knees, broad and steady. Scars crossed the knuckles, thin lines, old ones. His fingers bore faint discolorations from burns, or fights, or things she couldn't imagine. Luca noticed her staring. His lips quirked, not in a smile, but something softer. "I didn't always have guards around me," he said quietly. "Most of these came from before." Mia blinked. "Before what?" He took a slow sip of his drink. "Before I inherited a mess I didn't ask for." She swallowed. "Are you going to tell me who tried to kill you tonight?" "No." His tone was gentle, not dismissive. "Not because I don't trust you, but because you're already involved, more than you should be. I wouldn't be involved at all if I hadn't sat at your table." His eyes flickered, guilt, real guilt, rippling through the dark surface. "No," he agreed softly. "You wouldn't." Something about his honesty loosened her breath. She pulled her knees up slightly, wrapping her arms around them. He noticed that too. He noticed everything. After a moment, he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. His voice dropped. "What are you running from, Mia?" Her heart lurched. "What?" "You flinch at loud sounds," he said, not unkindly. "You apologize for existing in every room you enter. And when the gunfire started, you froze like someone who's heard it before." She stared at him, breath caught. She hadn't realized he'd seen all of that. She hadn't realized anyone had. "I'm not running," she said too quickly. "Mia." Her name and his voice felt like pressure against a bruise. She looked away, eyes burning. "I'm tired," she whispered. "Of being responsible for everything. Of carrying things alone. Of pretending I'm fine just because that's what people expect." His jaw shifted, something tightening in the set of his shoulders. "How long have you been pretending?" She let out a shaky exhale, the truth slipping before she could catch it. "Since my mom died." Luca's posture changed, not dramatically, but enough for her to feel the room tilt around them. His expression softened, the hard lines in his brow easing into something she never would have expected from a man feared across the city. "I'm sorry," he murmured. She nodded, eyes fixed on the floor. "And you?" she said quietly. "Who were you before all of this?" He huffed a cold, humorless breath. "A stupid kid with too much anger and too little guidance." "That doesn't match the man I'm staring at now." His eyes lifted to hers. Slowly, deliberately, and Mia felt something shift in the air. "Maybe not," he said, "but the scars stay." Her gaze drifted back to his hands. His scars. Her wounds. Two very different kinds of damage, sitting inches apart. "You're different from the people in your world," she whispered. "And you're different from the people in yours," he countered. "Different enough that you terrify me more than the men who shot at me tonight." Mia's breath stilled. "What?" she whispered. "Because they want me dead," Luca said softly. "And you could make me feel alive." The room felt too warm, too close, too intimate. Mia's heart slammed hard enough to shake her. "Luca," she breathed. He set down his glass carefully, leaning back, watching her like she was the one weapon he couldn't predict. "You should sleep," he murmured, but his voice said he didn't want her to go. Mia stood anyway because staying felt dangerous in a way guns and bullets never could. When she began to climb the stairs, she felt his eyes on her, heavy and lingering. At the top, she glanced back. Luca was still watching, quiet, unreadable, but not nearly as untouchable as before. Her heart wasn't sure whether to fear him, or the truth that she had already begun to fall. Mia didn't mean to find it. She hadn't even meant to go into his office. She was only trying to escape the suffocating tension of the safe house. The way the walls hummed with electricity, the constant soft static of cameras turning toward her, the guards' eyes tracking her every step. Everything in this place felt wrong. Wrong air, wrong quiet, wrong safety. Like she was in a cage someone had painted gold. Luca had stepped away moments earlier, his phone buzzing, his jaw tightening in that way she was starting to recognize. Danger. Orders. Something he didn't want her hearing. "Stay here," he'd said, brushing a hand along her hip as he passed her. Too casually. Too easily. Like he'd forgotten she wasn't his. She'd told herself she would stay. She lasted 14 seconds, maybe 15. The hallway outside was dim, the house too still, the kind of silence that made the hair on her arms rise. Her feet moved before her brain caught up, carrying her toward the only door she knew she shouldn't open. Luca's office, cold, minimalist, immaculate, and wrong for another reason. The soft vibration she felt under her feet. Generators, backup power, reinforced walls. Nothing about this room belonged in a home. A laptop sat open on the desk, screen dark. Papers stacked with military precision. A pistol lying beside an opened drawer, as casual as a pen. Mia swallowed hard and stepped inside. She didn't want trouble. She just wanted air. She didn't even touch anything. Until a tremor rattled the windows. A distant thud, like something hitting the ground outside. Then voices, shouting. Footsteps pounding down the hall. Gunfire. Sharp, muffled, but unmistakable. Mia's pulse exploded. She darted deeper into the office on instinct, searching for cover. Something. Anything. But her elbow caught the edge of a file box on a lower shelf. It slipped, spilling folders across the floor in a muted cascade of paper. No, no, no! Mia dropped to her knees, scooping them up with shaking hands, trying to erase any sign she'd been here. That's when she saw it. A manila file with a white tab. Her name handwritten across the top. M.I.A. Riley, confidential. Her breath fractured. She stared. Frozen. Unable to blink, unable to breathe, unable to pretend it wasn't real. Her name. Not by chance. Not spelled wrong, not some coincidence. Her hands shook so violently the edges of the file blurred. She shouldn't open it. She knew she shouldn't. But she did. Inside a photograph. Of her? Taken from across the street. Her backpack slung over her shoulder. Her hair pinned up. Her lips chapped from finals week. She remembered that day. The caption beneath the photo. Subject acquired, location confirmed. Her stomach plummeted. There were more pages. Documents, school records, employment details. A picture of her mother. One Mia didn't even have anymore. And at the bottom, a page stamped with Luca's family crest, followed by 4 terrifying words. DONOTAPPROACHUNTILCLERED. Her vision tunneled. Her chest tightened. No. No, this couldn't be what it looked like. It couldn't mean Luca had known her before the restaurant. It couldn't mean he'd been watching her. Because if it did, then sitting at his table hadn't been a mistake at all. The door burst open.
Mia!
Luca's voice, low, sharp, urgent, filled the room. She jolted, the file still wide open in her hands. His eyes landed on it instantly. For the first time since she'd met him, true fear flickered across Luca Moretti's face. Not fear for himself. Fear of her reaction. Mia, he said again, stepping toward her carefully. Don't, she whispered, stumbling back. Stay right where you are. Mia, listen to me. You. Her voice cracked and splintered. She pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. You knew who I was. Before the restaurant. Before I sat down. You knew. He exhaled slowly, agonizingly, as though the truth weighed enough to break bone. Yes, he said softly. I knew. Her heart stuttered violently. Why? Why is there a file on me? He took another step toward her, slow, measured, gentle in a way that only made her more terrified. Because Luca Moretti was never gentle unless he wanted something. You weren't supposed to find that, he said. That's not an answer. He swallowed, jaw clenching before he forced it loose. You weren't a random girl in a restaurant, Mia. His voice dropped, rough with confession. You were already in danger, and I was trying to decide the safest way to pull you out of it. Gunfire rattled the hallway again. Someone shouted Luca's name. But Luca didn't flinch. He didn't look away from her, not even for a second. Mia, he said calmly, steadily, heartbreakingly. I wasn't there by accident. I didn't sit down beside you by accident. I've been trying to protect you long before you realized you needed protection. Her stomach twisted violently. But you didn't tell me, she whispered. No, Luca said, his voice cracking for the first time. Because I knew the moment you learned the truth, you might run from me. He stepped closer, slow as a man defusing a bomb. And I can't lose you now. Mia didn't hear the gunfire anymore. Didn't hear the distant shouting. What? Didn't hear anything except the thunderous pounding of her own heartbeat as Luca stepped closer. Slow, careful, like he was approaching a wild animal he feared he'd already wounded. She backed up until her spine hit the edge of his desk. The file trembled in her hands. Her name stared back at her. Her face. Her life. A stranger shouldn't have known any of it. But Luca Moretti wasn't a stranger, was he? Not really. Not anymore. Not after everything. Mia, he said again, voice low, words stretched thin with something dangerously close to vulnerability. Let me explain. Explain? Her voice snapped, raw at the edges. Explain why you have a surveillance file on me? Why you've been assessing me like some kind of project? Target? His jaw tensed. He hated her phrasing. Good. She hated this situation even more. It wasn't surveillance, he said quietly. That's not better. Luca swallowed hard, running a hand down his face as if trying to smooth out a truth that refused to come out in any gentle way. Finally, he said it. I've known who you were for 7 months. The room spun. Her grip on the folder faltered. 7 months? She forced breath into her lungs. Why? Why me? Luca's eyes flickered, not cold, not cruel, but haunted. Because of your father. The floor seemed to tilt beneath her. My father? Yes. One word that sounded like the breaking of a bone. Mia's chest tightened until she could barely draw air. I don't have a father. Not anymore. I know. Soft, gentle, dangerous. She wanted to scream. Then what does he have to do with you spying on me? Luca moved closer. Mia pressed harder against the desk, knuckles whitening around the file. She didn't know if she wanted to hit him with it, or collapse into him, or both. Mia, he said slowly, your father wasn't who you think he was. She shook her head fiercely. No, don't! Do not try to twist this. He wasn't perfect, but he wasn't involved with your world. Luca's jaw flexed with restrained emotion. Pain, regret, anger, though not directed at her. I wish that were true, he murmured. For your sake. But your father was involved. Deeply. The file in her hands fluttered as her grip loosened. You're lying. I'm not. He stepped closer still, his voice lowering. Your father worked for my family years ago, as an accountant, trusted, respected, until he betrayed us. Her stomach twisted violently. My father would never... He did. Luca's voice cut through her denial like a blade. Not cruel, not triumphant, just unbearably certain. Mia's breath hitched. What did he do? Luca looked at her with something like sorrow. He stole from us. Millions. And he sold information to one of our rivals. Information that nearly got my brother killed. Her heart lurched.
I didn't know,
she whispered. Of course you didn't, Luca said softly. You weren't supposed to. You were young, innocent. He kept you out of it. And when things went bad, he ran. Her throat closed. Ran. Yes, that part hurt the worst because it wasn't a lie. Not fully. He did leave. He left her and her mother with empty promises, crumbling bills, and the kind of silence that never healed. But she never imagined it had been tied to something like this. So what? She choked out. You've been watching me because you thought I'd, what? Finish what he started? Steal from you? Sell you out? No, Luca said, his voice suddenly sharp. Because someone else was watching you. Her pulse spiked. What do you mean? I wasn't the only one looking for your father, he said. And when he disappeared, the people he betrayed came after his blood. It took Mia 3 agonizing seconds to process the implication. You mean me? Yes. The room contracted around her. Air, sound, gravity. Everything felt too tight. You're telling me, she whispered, that the only reason you sat at your table that night was because you knew exactly who I was? Luca didn't look away. Yes. There it was, the lie between them, thick enough to choke on. Mia felt it like a blade pressed to her sternum. So it wasn't fate, she said numbly. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't anything I thought it was. Luca's eyes softened, agonized. That's not true. She let out a shaky laugh. It isn't? Mia, he said, stepping close enough that his warmth brushed her skin. The moment you sat down, everything changed. I wasn't supposed to speak to you yet. I wasn't supposed to be near you. I wasn't supposed to involve you in any of this. Yet here we are, she whispered. He exhaled, a broken sound. Here we are. She stared up at him, pain stinging behind her eyes. Not because Luca was a criminal, not because he had secrets, not even because her father had betrayed someone, but because she'd felt something for Luca. Something real. And now she didn't know if any of it had been mutual, or just another calculated move in a life she never agreed to join. Tell me the truth, she said, voice barely audible. Was anything between us real? Anything at all? Luca stepped forward until their foreheads nearly touched, his voice rough with something raw and unguarded. Every second was real, Mia. The lie was how it started, not what it became. She wanted to believe him. Her heart already did. But her head whispered a warning Luca couldn't silence. Because love built on a lie could just as easily collapse into truth. Mia should have known the world wouldn't leave her alone. Not after what she'd seen, not after what Luca admitted, not after the truth about her father detonated in the center of her chest like shrapnel. But she wasn't prepared for this. Not for the way her old life clawed its way back into her new nightmare. Not for the way danger slipped into something as normal as a school hallway. It happened the next morning. Luca had insisted she stay in the safe house, but Mia, stubborn, restless, unraveling, needed air. Needed something that felt like her. Needed to pretend she could still walk into class and take notes and plan for a future that suddenly felt like the plot of someone else's story. He didn't like it. He hated it, actually. But she'd pushed, and for the first time since she'd met him, Luca Moretti looked tired. Tired enough to say yes, with conditions, escort, surveillance, rules. But a yes, nonetheless. He'd trusted her to go. She wished he hadn't, because the moment she stepped onto campus, she felt it. Eyes watching, wrong eyes. Not Luca's men, they stayed back, unmarked, unbothered. This gaze was colder, sharper. Like someone had a skill for tracking prey. Mia kept walking, breath trapped in her throat. She made it halfway to her classroom before a hand slipped around her arm. Not rough, not gentle, just decisive. She spun around, heart slamming upward. A woman, expensively dressed, dark hair in a sleek knot, a face carved from elegance and cruelty, both equally polished. "Don't scream, Miyakara," the woman said in a whisper-soft voice. "You'll draw the wrong kind of attention." Mia stiffened. "Let go of me." The woman's smile sharpened. "If I let go, someone else will grab you. Trust me, you'd rather deal with me." Her pulse roared in her ears. "Who are you?" "Someone who lost a great deal because of Luca Moretti," the woman replied. "Someone who would prefer not to lose more. Step out of the walkway, now." Fear crawled under Mia's skin as she let herself be guided behind a stone column, away from passing students. The woman's grip loosened, but she stayed close. Too close. "You look like your mother," the woman murmured. "I can see the softness, the hope. I wonder how long you'll keep it." Mia's knees wobbled. "What do you want?" The woman tilted her head, studying her. "Isn't it obvious? We want Luca, and you, lucky thing, are the easiest way to get to him." Mia's blood chilled. "I'm not helping you." "You don't have a choice." A phone appeared in the woman's hand, sleek, expensive, already opened to a video. Mia felt the world tilt as the screen showed her classmates. Her lecture hall, students chatting, unaware. A man standing at the back, watching them. "You see him?" the woman asked softly. "He's ours, and he has orders. If you warn Luca, if you call for help, if you fail to do exactly as we say, he will open fire. Right there. Right in front of your friends." Mia swayed, stomach twisting violently. "No," she whispered. "Please." "Oh, don't cry yet," the woman said, brushing a tear Mia hadn't realized had fallen. "I haven't even told you the task." Mia flinched. "You will deliver Luca Moretti to an address we provide," the woman continued. "Tonight. You will bring him willingly. You will not tell him the real reason. And you will walk away before the bullets start." Her heart stopped. "I won't do it," she said, voice cracking. "You will," the woman replied calmly. "Because if you don't, the man in that hall will kill every person he sees. Your classmates, your professors, anyone in his line of sight." Mia's hands shook so violently she could barely hold her own phone when the woman slid it into her palm. "Text Luca," the woman murmured. "Tell him you need to see him alone. Tell him it's important. Make him trust you." Mia stared at the screen, blurred through tears. I can't." "Oh, you can." The woman leaned in, her lips grazing Mia's ear. "And the beautiful part is, he will come running the second you call." Mia's breath hitched, because it was true. Even after the lies, the revelations, the file with her name, Luca would come for her. Without hesitation, without suspicion. He'd walk straight into an ambush. Straight into death. The woman stepped back, smiling as if she'd just gifted Mia a bouquet instead of a nightmare. "Choose wisely, Miyakara." Then she melted into the crowd, leaving Mia shaking in the hallway, surrounded by students who had no idea how close they were to dying. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A message from Luca. "Are you all right? You're pale. I can feel it from here." He always seemed to sense her fear. Mia wiped her tears, breath trembling. 2 lives. 2 worlds. 2 impossible choices. If she warned Luca, innocent people would die. If she obeyed the woman, Luca would. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. One choice would save her future. The other would destroy the only man who had ever made her feel seen. And for the first time, Mia realized the truth. The rival family wasn't just using her as leverage. They were using Luca's feelings for her as ammunition, and she had no idea which outcome terrified her more. Mia didn't remember driving to the address the woman had given her. Didn't remember gripping the steering wheel so hard her fingers went numb. Didn't remember the rain slashing across the windshield like angry hands. All she remembered, all she could think about, was the text she'd sent Luca. "I need to see you, alone, please." And the reply that came seconds later, "Tell me where. I'm coming." He shouldn't have. He shouldn't come near her. He shouldn't trust her at all. But he did. God help her, he did. Her heart twisted as she pulled into a deserted warehouse lot, every instinct screaming that she was walking into something monstrous. The air was thick, heavy with the metallic taste of danger. Mia stepped out of the car. Her legs shook so badly she had to lean against the door to stay upright. A black SUV rolled into the far end of the lot, headlights off. The engine cut. A tall silhouette stepped out. Luca. He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He just looked at her, slowly, deeply, like he was memorizing the fear on her face.
"Mia,"
he said softly.
"tell me what's wrong."
Her throat closed. She opened her mouth, and a beam of white light exploded across the lot. Floodlights. Blinding. Luca reacted instantly, grabbing Mia and pulling her behind him as dark figures emerged from the shadows, armed, masked, surrounding them like wolves closing in. "Move and she dies!" a voice barked. Mia froze. Luca didn't. His entire body went still, but not with fear, with calculation. "Let her go," he said, voice dangerously calm. "Your issue is with me." "Oh, we know," the voice replied, smug and cold. "That's why she's here." A woman stepped into the light, the same elegant serpent from the campus. "Mia did beautifully," she crooned. "Didn't you, Kara?" "Don't talk to her," Luca snapped, his tone cutting the air like a blade. The woman smiled at him, all teeth. "You have a soft spot. Still. Just like your father." Luca's muscles locked, rigid as steel. "Leave him out of this." "Oh, but he's very much in it," she purred. "As is her father." Mia blinked. "Her father?" The woman spread her arms, basking in the spotlight. "Shall we clean the air? Your father, Luca Moretti, was no saint, and neither was hers." Mia felt Luca tense beside her. "Don't listen to her," he murmured, but the woman continued anyway. "Her father didn't just betray your family. He tried to switch sides, Luca. Tried to join us. And when we refused to trust a snake, he stole from us too." Mia jerked back as if slapped. "No, that's not true." "Oh, but it is," the woman said with a pitying pout. "Your father was loyal to no one. Not to Luca's family. Not to ours. Not even to you." Mia's knees buckled. Luca caught her, steadying her with firm hands. "Don't believe her," he whispered fiercely. "She twists everything." "Really?" the woman drawled. "Then tell her the rest, Luca. Tell her why you whispered, 'Stay,' the moment she sat in your seat." She looked up at him, searching, pleading. "Why did you?" she asked, voice breaking. Luca didn't look away, but pain cracked through his expression. "Because I knew who you were," he said softly, "and because I recognized something in your eyes." "What?" she whispered shakily. "My father died protecting a woman he loved," Luca said. "And when I saw you, I thought—" Gunfire shattered the moment. The ground erupted as bullets tore through concrete. Luca yanked Mia to the ground, shielding her with his body as chaos exploded around them. His men, 5 of them, burst from the shadows behind the warehouse, firing back, shouting commands. "Move!" Luca barked, pulling her up and running toward the nearest cover. Bullets whizzed past her ears, so close she felt the heat of them. Her heart hammered so violently she tasted blood. "Mia, listen to me," Luca rasped, pressing her against a metal crate. "There's something I didn't tell you." "Now?" she choked. "Yes, now." He grabbed her face in both hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Your father didn't betray us by choice." She froze. "He betrayed us because the rival family threatened you," Luca said. "They used you as leverage when you were a kid. Your mother protected you. He took the blame to keep you alive." "What?" Mia whispered, the world tilting. "He stole the money to pay them off," Luca said. He sold the information because they held a gun to your mother's head. He wasn't a traitor. He was a father trying to save his family. Her breath shattered. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know until last week. Luca's voice broke. And because once I did, I knew everyone you've ever loved has kept secrets from you. I didn't want to be the next one. Another barrage of gunfire tore through the crates behind them. Luca didn't flinch. Mia, he said, voice low and urgent. You need to know the truth before we die. I whispered stay because the moment I saw you, I knew exactly who you were. And I also knew, he leaned in, breath harsh against her cheek. I would rather take a bullet than let anyone hurt you again. Her heart stopped. Told you, the woman's voice snarled from across the lot. Soft spots get men killed. Then she shouted, Fire! The world erupted in bullets. Light, chaos, screams. And Mia, trembling, bleeding adrenaline, realized one devastating truth. This wasn't a double cross at all. It was a triple cross. Her father's truth, Luca's truth, her truth, all crashing together in a storm of bullets and broken vows. The warehouse lot, once a battleground, was now ghostly quiet, lit only by the flashing blue of distant emergency lights Luca's men had redirected away from them. Bodies were gone. Evidence removed. The war, for tonight, was over. Mia sat on the hood of Luca's car, wrapped in a blanket someone had draped around her shoulders. Her hands were still trembling too badly to hold a cup of water. Her ears rang from the gunfire. Her throat burned from screaming his name more than once. Across the lot, Luca spoke quietly with his men, his silhouette framed by smoke and the harsh light of a single working street lamp. His shirt was torn, blood soaked down one sleeve. His blood, though he kept brushing it off like it didn't matter. His movements were sharp, efficient, until he turned toward her. Then, everything softened. He crossed the distance slowly, as if afraid she might bolt. Maybe he should have been. Mia didn't even know what she wanted to do. Her entire world had detonated in a single night. Her father wasn't a traitor. Luca wasn't her enemy. And she, stupid, terrified, furious, had led him straight into an ambush. Luca stopped a few feet away, his expression unreadable under the bruises and soot. Mia, he said quietly, are you hurt? She shook her head. Physically? No. The implication hung in the space between them. Emotionally? She was wrecked. He stepped closer, but not close enough to touch her. Not like before. Mia, look at me! She lifted her eyes, and regret tore through her. Because he wasn't wearing the mask tonight. Not the boss. Not the terrifying man with guards and guns and orders. This was Luca stripped bare, angry at himself, terrified for her, hurting. Say something, he murmured. Her voice cracked. You were shot. It's nothing. You almost died. So did you. You won anyway, she whispered. Even after I lied to you, even after I led you into... You didn't betray me. His voice was soft but firm. You were forced. The moment I saw your face, I knew. She pressed her hands to her eyes, trying to stop the tears that hadn't quite fallen yet. I almost got you killed, Luca. Mia, he said, stepping close enough to touch her hand, but not daring to. You saved me. You warned me with your eyes before the first shot was even fired. If you wanted me dead, I'd be in that ground already. She let out a shaky breath. And your father, Luca added gently, wasn't what you feared. He died trying to keep you safe. A tear finally escaped. Luca caught it with his thumb before she could wipe it away. She didn't push his hand off this time. Silence settled over them like smoke. He exhaled, long and slow, as if bracing himself. Mia, he said quietly, there's one thing left. One decision that has to be yours. Her breath hitched. I didn't ask for you to sit at my table that night, Luca continued. But once you did, my world shifted. I can't pretend otherwise. She stared at him, heart pounding.
I won't force you into anything. Not safety, not danger, not me.
He gestured toward the ruined lot, toward the darkness he came from.
This world, it's bloody, ruthless, consuming.
If you walk away now, I won't follow. I'll make sure they never come near you again. I'll disappear from your life completely. Her chest constricted painfully. Or, Luca said, voice dropping to a raw whisper, you can stay. Stay? She echoed. He stepped even closer, his breath brushing her lips. Sit at my table, he murmured. For real this time. Her heart twisted.
Luca.
This is your choice, he said. Not mine, not theirs, yours. He backed up one step, giving her room, giving her air. I'll walk you to your car, he said softly. And if you drive away, I won't stop you. You'll be free. Safe. Alive. Her fingers gripped the edge of the blanket. But if you stay, Luca continued, if you walk toward me instead, then I'll take your hand, and I won't let go again. Not for anything. Not for anyone. The world held its breath with her. Her head knew the safe answer. The logical answer. The answer she would have chosen a week ago. But her heart, her reckless, wounded, stubborn heart, beat one sentence with every throb of blood.
He saved me. I saved him.
We survived together. And when she looked at Luca, bloody, bruised, waiting like a man praying for the first time, she realized she already knew which life she wanted. Not the one she planned, the one she never expected. Slowly, terrified, shaking but certain, Mia stepped off the hood of the car. Luca's breath hitched. 1 step, 2, 3. She stopped an arm's reach away, eyes shining.
I'm not walking away, she whispered. Not from you.
Luca closed the distance in a single breath. His hand lifted, not to claim her, but to offer. She slid hers into his. He exhaled like it broke him apart. Mia, he murmured, pulling her against him with a raw, trembling relief. You're in my life now. Her lips brushed his jaw. And in your seat, she whispered back. His mouth curved into a soft, reverent smile against her skin. Then stay, he breathed. Stay for good. And she did.